I met my wife in 2004, which is easy to remember because it was the Flames playoff run. And so, we started dating right around that time. So whenever I want to remember A, when I met Blythe, or B, when they were in the playoffs, it's the same year. And then this year, with that incredible run that the Flames had, it was so fun. And for Blythe and I, it was a bit like when we met. And so we watch a lot of the games. Blythe isn't a huge hockey fan, but in the playoffs, it's fun to watch. So we did. And every game was the same. We'd get so into it and we'd get so excited. But then the game would end and she'd say, well, and she'd go up and go to bed. And I would stay and I would listen to the player interviews. And she'd always say, why? Why? Because they'd say things, you know, and she'd say, what are they going to say? That it's one game at a time? Or what are they going to say? Oh, I know what they're going to say. They're going to say, we got to put this one behind us. Well, that's really revealing. So she'd say, why do you do that, right? And so I remember when Vancouver was up 3-0 in Game 6 and how ridiculous that was. And then there was no way we were coming back, but we believed they'd come back. And then they came back. But then Vancouver got ahead. And then we got another, and then finally we won the game. It was the greatest moment of my life. And we were so excited. And it ended, and Blythe just went to bed. And then when up against the Ducks, it was the same thing, except there was more heartbreak there, but it was the same thing. And then when the series finally ended, the last game, and it was over, and Blythe went to bed. And then I watched. And then I went upstairs, and Blythe was lying there, and she kind of woke up a bit, and she said, oh, tell me, what did they say? And I said, oh, they were talking to Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey. What did he say? And I knew, so I said, this is what he said, and I quote, obviously, we came up short, obviously. Obviously, we never gave up, obviously. And we're going to come back next year, obviously. And she said, and you're glad you stayed up for that? And I said, yes, obviously. She said, why? The game's over. The battle is done. There's nothing else there. And I lay there and I thought, okay, why do I? And I realized it's because it's not the words, really. It's his voice. And when you watch Johnny Gaudreau and his face is covered with sweat and his shoulders are slumped in disappointment and totally drained of everything he could give on the ice, the emotion is packed into those words. But I was lying in bed and Blythe wasn't awake, so I couldn't tell her that. And then the next day it hit me even stronger because I was in my car and I remembered a time in university. Now, university is a time where we have big questions, right? Where am I going? Who am I going to be? What is life going to be? And my brother Rob gave me a cassette tape. And he said, there's a piece on here I think you'd like. Now, Rob's a classical music guy. I'm not, and he is. I'm a like a Van Halen, Aerosmith kind of guy. And he gave me Requiem by Mozart. And I had this crappy old Toyota Corolla, rusted like you'd have in university. And I just want you all to picture yourselves with me in my Corolla. So come on in. Where I take this cassette that Rob gave me, and I put it in this horrible, cheap cassette player that thunks whenever you put it in, and one of the speakers didn't quite work. But then I put it in, and you're all with me, and I hear this. And listen to what Mozart brings in. Watch. Voices, right? And what do you think they're saying? Well, it's Latin, so you don't need to know Latin, though, to know that whatever they're saying is sad. And whatever it is big. Right? It's big. So I looked it up. This man is facing his maker on Judgment Day, alone and afraid. That's a big deal, right? And when something big happens, you don't want to just watch it. You want to hear from the people in it. You want to hear their voices, even if it's in another language, even if it's something you don't understand, or if it's obvious, or if you don't know what they're saying. What you want is to hear the emotion in their voice. And Mozart knew this. And when he's writing about the most personal, sad moment in a person's life, what instrument does he bring front and center? Violin? Viola? No. The voice. Right? And then he gives the voice a break, and the orchestra goes, and there's that oboe. But it's all setting up for one thing. Listen, listen, listen. And the setup is for what? The voice. Is, I don't care what Johnny Goudreau says. I just want to hear his voice. Aren't they ridiculous? So these guys, this is Luminous Voices, and okay, I knew they were coming in. So they are doing Requiem, Mozart's Requiem, October 18th, as part of their season next year. They're Calgary's only professional choir. And it's a dream of Tim's. That's Tim right here in the middle. This is his dream, is to do this. And next year, they are going to do full orchestra, this amazingly talented choir. Singers are going to bring in from across Canada and some from right here in Calgary to do that show. So you should buy tickets right now. And we're going to wait till you do. No. So these guys are so good, and this is part of an amazing season. And I just thought I wanted them, first of all, I wanted to tell the story, and I wanted these guys to tell it with me. But more than anything, I believe in Tim's dream to say we can do this in Calgary. Just like Dave said I can do it in Calgary, just like Brian Burke says I can come and work in Calgary. These guys said Calgary can support this kind of amazing work. So I thought what better way than to tell a fun story with them and have them come sing. So can we hear it again for them? Thank you.